Let's fucking go.
Everybody, welcome to the Comic Gear Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review Daredevil Born Again, episodes 1 and 2. Yes, we have finally gotten here. The Daredevil Netflix version of the character it's gone through a lot. I'm not going to go too much into it here because I really want to get into these two episodes, but I mean, that Daredevil show was released in like 2015 on Netflix. I believe that show was canceled almost 6 or 7 years ago. It feels like. I don't know if it was that long ago. What was it? What was Daredevil season? What was Daredevil canceled? Like 2019, something like that. So Daredevil was canceled like 5 years ago, something like that. And we never knew we were gonna get another season of that show. We never knew we were gonna get it. Then we thought Netflix owned the rights, and then Marvel, the MCU / Disney got the rights back to their Netflix shows because, as it turns out, I already knew this, but some people didn't know this, that ABC / Marvel Television, Disney did produce that show. I know it's hard to believe, but technically Disney did produce the Netflix Marvel shows. And Marvel Television, like, Daredevil was the best of those shows. Out of all the shows that were released by Marvel Television, the old Marvel Television, Daredevil was the best show released. I mean, there were some good ones. I have love for Agent Carter. I have a lot of love for the first season of Jessica Jones and the second season of Luke Cage, and particularly the first season of Punisher, and Runaways was pretty good. There was some couple shows. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a very fun show. Like, Marvel Television produced a lot of good shows, but Daredevil was the best of them all. And Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio really just like embodied those characters to the point where you visually see them as those two characters. They really did take those characters on. Like, every time I see I can't see Charlie Cox in anything without thinking of Matt Murdock, and same thing with Vincent D'Onofrio. Those two roles are synonymous with those two actors. And for a while there, we didn't know if we'd get them back. But then, as we all know, they came back to reprise their roles. I mean, Charlie Cox came back to reprise his role as Matt Murdock / Daredevil in Spider-Man Spider-Man No Way Home. Also in She-Hulk and Echo. And Vincent D'Onofrio come back to play Wilson Fisk Kingpin and Hawkeye and Echo. So, like, they'd come back, but they were slightly different versions of themselves. They were those characters, because you could feel it. It wasn't like Matt, I mean, everyone will tell you the best reviewed episode of She-Hulk was the Daredevil episode because of the back and forth, and he felt like Matt. He was just a slightly lighter version of himself, but he was Matthew Murdock. Wilson Fisk. And both, like, he was the highlight of Echo, and the small interactions we did get with him in Hawkeye, he seemed like, once again, a puffed up version of the Wilson Fisk we know. But they were those characters, just slightly different. So when Daredevil Born Again was announced, we thought, okay, it's going to be slightly lighter. But the rumors came out that they were going to focus mostly a court procedural where it's building up to Daredevil putting the suit on and the action sequences. But for the most part, it was going to be a court procedural that has action sequences kind of going on in the background. And a lot of things came out about where Born Again direction was going. And Marvel, Kevin Feige, and the rest of the crew didn't like it. They didn't like the way it was going. They didn't like the direction it was going. They didn't like the direction the story was going. They fired everyone. They fired basically everyone, and they brought back multiple people who worked on the original Netflix Daredevil show, and they decided to go in a different direction. Now, on to Daredevil Born Again. Now, this show is not, and this is the thing I really need to emphasize, because I feel like one of the problems that's kind of going on and some of the reactions to the show comes solely from the fact that a lot of people were going into this show thinking that it was going to be essentially Daredevil season 4. They thought it was going to be Netflix Daredevil season 4. And that's a lot of I see, because some of the reactions I see, it's a lot of people going into it with that narrative. And while it is the spiritual successor in its bones, it has it inside of its bones. This show is it's like I don't really know how to describe it. It is a new take. It is a different take. It's simultaneously, it's like inspired by, but different than. If that's the best way I can describe it. Because while the action sequences and the tone often is just straight up from the Daredevil Netflix, it does have a different vibe. And it's straight up from from the fact that there's a lot more of Matt Murdock. And I noticed it within the first 2 episodes. There's a lot more scenes during the day. I don't know, maybe I need to compare and contrast Daredevil Netflix and this one, but there's a lot more scenes during the day. The sun is out a lot. There's a lot more focus on Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, like the more internal shit. Like, cause I don't know, cause it is slightly lighter, but then when like it's this interesting thing they do, and I'm having a hard time describing it because I just want to get it across the kind of tone this show is going for. Because some people would say that it doesn't know what tone it is. I actually think the show is doing something pretty clever, which is the entire premise of the show from the beginning is something bad happens at the beginning that's so bad that Matt retires being Daredevil. He goes full on just being a lawyer. He's like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I don't want to let that anger take over me anymore. I don't want to be that anymore. Same thing with Wilson Fisk. Now, one of the things I was curious about going into the show is how much are they going to reference the past shows that they were on? And as it turns out, they actually do fairly reference the past show. I mean, you got a tracksuit mafia guy in the show. Now, they never say it, but the fact that there's a guy in a tracksuit, a part of the Wilson Fisk's, King criminal empire, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's running the tracksuits. They just straight up outright, they don't mention Echo by name, but they just straight out mention the situation with Echo. So there are references to other shows. So I was wondering how they were going to handle that. And I was wondering if they were going to shy away from that. They did not. They referenced those things. But the thing is, there's this feeling but Wilson Fisk is also trying to turn over a new leaf. He's trying to run for mayor. He actually does become mayor. And you get the feeling he means what he says. He's trying to turn over a new leaf. He's trying to help the city and whatnot. But underneath both Matt and Wilson, there is the Kingpin and Daredevil. And it's like the show decided to when it focuses on Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock in the day, they're aspirational. They're trying to be better men. But this other tone, which is the Netflix tone, keeps creeping up because they will shift to that tone when there's a sequence. When something intense is happening, all of a sudden it is like the Netflix show. It is exactly like the Netflix show. It is as if the Netflix show, because the way they talk, because they never straight up mention things that happen in the Netflix show. They talk about them like, oh, this happened. The way the dialogue is designed is to kind of leave it up for interpretation. It's not like, if you didn't watch the old Netflix shows, then it may not mean too much to you, the things that have happened. But if you did, it means a lot more. But the way they talk about the old Netflix shows is like, that's the past. And the old Netflix Daredevil tone keeps creeping in. And I have a feeling, now I haven't seen the entire season. Some people have. But I get this feeling that the Daredevil tone is going to slowly continue to creep in to the show until it overtakes the light. That's the vibe I get. It's not so much them having these two contrasting tones. It is literally these two men, Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, having these two contrasting devils on their shoulders that are the old them. So that whenever they do tap into that old them, all of a sudden it looks just like the Daredevil Netflix show. Now, obviously, it's not going to be exactly like that. There are some CGI touches on Daredevil to make him a little bit more acrobatic. It's shot more cleaner than it was on the Daredevil Netflix show. It's obviously a little bit more money put into this show than it is. A little bit more cleaner. It's a little bit more crisp on that, but it's still just as violent. There's just as many deaths. But look, first of all, Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are back and they're better than ever. those two still work. They're still operating on 1,000. They are worth the price of admission on their own. Having Wilson Fisk as Kingpin Wilson Fisk as Mayor is an interesting thing. It's something that recently was done in the comics, so this isn't anything new. I mean, the comics are like, this is supervillain 101. It's happened with Lex Luthor becoming president and Wilson Fisk becoming mayor. It's something that happened in the comics not too long ago. And honestly, I will say this, and only this about it, because I'm not going to get political here, but it is very telling. A lot, like, Marvel's got some balls in a political climate like today to have both Thunderbolt Ross, who is a well-known villain, and Wilson Fisk be high, positions in government, president and mayor of New York, and they both are basically covered by the slogan, "We get shit done," with sketchy past that should be overlooked. And like, look, man, I'm not saying that this is allegory to anything, but it is like some of the shit that's in Wilson Fisk's campaign and stuff, and some of the things said about him, because like they go around and interview people and ask him about Wilson Fisk and ask him about things. Like, there's this whole interview thing going on throughout the course of the 2 episodes. And some of the things said are just kind of eerily similar to certain real life things. I'm not going to touch that, but I don't know if Marvel was trying to make a statement. But I will tell you this. Between the cop stuff that happens in here and Wilson Fisk, I mean, hey, look, Disney. Boy, I'm surprised there's not more people getting pissed off about that. Maybe the world's healing, but I digress. But so there's multiple things going on. First of all, Matt is very concerned about Wilson Fisk. Obviously, he knows who the hell he is, so he thinks he's full of shit. Matt's investigating that. He also started a new law firm after the events that happened in the beginning of the show. Honestly, outside of Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, the entire cast is pretty much brand new. Pretty much. So there's a lot of new characters, a lot of new moving pieces. There's some legacy characters who I won't spoil in this. There are some other things. There's an entire court case revolving around the White Tiger character and the shit that he's involved in with crooked cops, which is kind of spinning off into something else. The way they are layering the show, though, is you can already tell. They knew what direction they were going to go. They knew what they were going to do, because everything is connected to something. There is nothing random happening here. This character knows this character. For instance, in the show, he starts dating a therapist. Coincidentally, that therapist is doing sessions for Vanessa and Wilson Fisk. Couple therapy for Vanessa and Wilson. Also, while also being what's the word I'm looking for? Admired by a character who would go on to be the villain Muse. So there's so much happening. There's so many connective threads. The fact that Matt is actually representing another vigilante while he's retired from vigilanteism, and that's going to get him back into it. I'm just excited to see what fucking happens next. Honestly, will Bullseye get back? Will Karen there's so many questions. There's so many things up in the air. The relationship between Vanessa and Wilson Fisk is fascinating, because that could go many different directions. Everything can go many directions, and the possibilities are so endless. I am very excited for this show, and I know some people are kind of upset because, like I said, they thought they were gonna get like a legit just carbon, like this is Daredevil season 4, when in fact this is Daredevil. This is season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. If you're going into it thinking it's that, please don't take it too much. Give this a chance, because I actually do think this is pretty fucking good shit. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Guy Movie Show. Almost forgot. I give episodes 1 and 2 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Guy Movie Show. I'll see you guys on the next one. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you guys.